Habs.
It's a great day to talk hockey with Grant McCagg on HabsCast.
Welcome to HabsCast. I'm your host, Eric Macramalla, here with the man who runs the big show, Grant McCagg, NHL scout and former scout for the Montreal Canadiens. And if you're doing the accounting, he was right about Kapanen in the summer. That was very exciting. And he said the Canadiens are a 100-point team, and I disagreed with him, and he may well be right. Grant, welcome to your podcast, HabsCast, all things Montreal Canadiens.
Oh, you do it right, Eric. You butter me up to start, and
then I destroy you later on. Yes.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yes. No, I was thinking about it last night because I was watching. I'm like, okay, Kapanen against the Vancouver Canucks had 87,000 chances on net. Thank God he finally scored at the end. But you know, he's doing the job. That's the Habs' first line. Slafkovsky, Demidov, and Kapanen, at least in my mind, it discussed last week. Kapanen is not a first-line center, but he is centering the Habs' first line. And then I'm like, Canadians, I have a chance at 100 points this season. What else? And then what else is Grant going to come up with where I may disagree with him, but he ends up being right? My guess is pretty much everything. You mean that game last night, 3-3 going to the third, and the Canadiens scored 3 quick goals against, I think we would agree, a Vancouver Canucks team that is somewhat compromised when it comes to their ability and their talent. Everyone who's good is gone. I was talking to a friend of mine. You could build a nucleus or a team around the players that have left. JT Miller, Bo Horvat, Hughes, Markstrom, Tanev. These are the names coming to mind. I'm sure I'm missing one. Kessler. So lots of players have left. What was your impression of the Canucks-Canadiens game last night from the standpoint of the Montreal Canadiens? Were you happy with their performance? And what did that game tell you about the team?
Yeah, aside from Arber in the second period, thinking that he was Bobby Orr all of a sudden because he'd been playing well lately, that could have been like a 7-8-1 win. Cappy, with a little luck, scores 4 last night. Mm-hmm. And, that line was just rolling again. I found it funny that almost played the Danault line as much as the Kapanen line, and it was clear from the first shift that Demidov was on a mission. You could tell that Demidov, Demi's going to have a big game. You Slav again. That's tic-tac-toe. The plays that Slav made at his own blue line and then brought it up.
Yes.
He's just like,
there was great confidence when he brought that puck across the blue line when he was facing 2 defenders. Most guys would have just dumped it in, right?
Yeah.
He carried it in.
He's gaining confidence by the game. And that back pass of his has become like a staple. Every game one time he tried it right across ice and it didn't necessarily work. He's going to have to be careful. In his own zone, the behind the back pass to the other side. That's how confident he is right now.
Yes.
He sort of got away with it, but it could have been disastrous. But still, I saw a quote from Marty talking about Demidov yesterday where, I don't know if you saw it, Eric, but just about how you can't, you can't be nitpicking at these guys. They know when they've made mistakes. They're going to figure it out themselves. Don't quell that.
Yes, it's not for us to tell them they've made a mistake. They're the ones playing in the show.
Right. Well, just, you know what I mean? You can't be just harping on them. You shouldn't have passed that. Well, no kidding, Einstein.
The one thing about many things I love about him, and again, we talked about it last week, about from a psychological standpoint, when you're given ownership of a line, you'll play better in any sports. I'm sure listeners right now, including Ron Williamson, who's tuning in from Calgary. Hey, Ron, how's it going? When you played on a team where you felt more empowered and felt as in you were the senior statesman, you play better. Can you speak to how tough is it to play against Slafkovsky when the puck is chipped in deep into the offensive zone with that wingspan of his, and how physical he is and the way that he angles his body? As a scout, when you're looking at that, explain how you would inform someone of how he plays, how hard it is to play against him in the offensive zone.
Well, I would keep showing that Connor Garland clip there where, did you see that, where Connor Garland stuck his leg out to stop Slav with that swinging the stick around to get to the puck? Because like Slav can be like about 6 feet away, and with that wingspan, and he's so strong with the one hand on the stick. I know he got a lot of grief for that early in his career, and he's not doing it as much, but he still does it because obviously when you got two hands on the stick, you got like you're cutting off at least a foot in length that you can utilize.
Mm-hmm.
Where with one hand you can get to that puck from 6 feet away and knock. And if you're as strong as Slav, you can knock it away, and he does it all the time. Like I don't know that there's already a better player in the NHL at getting to pucks with one hand on the stick and just, hitting it away from the player. Garland kind of figured, okay, I'll stick my leg out, up. It was funny. Like it became a pretty popular highlight last night. I've seen it in the KHL a couple times this year, and I think you're going to start seeing that become more of a happening more at the NHL level where, hey, that's a good idea. The guy tries to do what Slav did, reach around and just lift your leg up and block the stick coming in to poke the puck away. But
it's funny. I remember when you talked about Slafkovsky with the one hand on the stick. I remember in his rookie year, I'm like, I would yell at the TV, two hands. And that was just sloppiness, him not being prepared for the level. But now I think he does it the right way. Maybe let's go back in time, because there were people that didn't love the idea of Slafkovsky playing in the NHL in his rookie season after being drafted first overall. One of those people was me. I'm like, send him to the AHL, allow him to gain some experience outside the fishbowl in Montreal. To what extent do you believe that first year in Montreal helped him with his development and helped us get to where we are now with him?
Yeah, in a funny sort of way, Eric, it almost was beneficial, I think, that he got injured in the second half and he could just hang around the team, soak it all in, watch games from the stands, because they weren't going to sit him out as the first overall pick. You just don't sit, The Habs learned from Doug Wickenheiser from 1980 that you just don't do that. And, but, sit back, being in all the video sessions, be soaking it all in, learning, getting to know his teammates, adapting, and coming back the next year a lot more mentally prepared to have a breakout offensively to a certain extent. But if he hadn't been around the club for that full year, he'd have gone into the next year without all that experience and all that teaching and all that knowledge that he garnered from being around the club for the entire year. So, yeah, first overall picks typically play in the NHL for right or wrong. Owen Power didn't, because he was a big defenseman that needed another year. But just being around the club all year, I think Marty St. Louis is a really good with young players, and that was a benefit to him as well. So at the end of the day, I believe it was a positive for him to stay in the NHL that first year, even if he did have some struggles confidence-wise and offensively at the start, which was understandable.
He is Grant McCagg, former NHL scout. I'm Eric Macramalla, and this is HabsCast, all things Montreal Canadiens. There's a note here from Zefly Cave 9550. I always love when you add the numbers. I was thinking we would talk about the Calder candidates. We'll get to the Calder candidates. We're just talking a little bit about last night's game and all things that are interesting about the Montreal Canadiens. I want to ask you about one guy, Grant, and actually in advance of or in anticipation of doing this podcast today, I made a note. Make sure I ask Grant about Arber Xhekaj. There are lots of people now, they're saying he's playing really well, and they're happy with his execution on the ice. I still see at times that he makes difficult or easy plays look a little bit more difficult, but there's also this issue that sometimes you focus, there's this confirmation bias. You feel like a player is flawed and you focus on the flaws and not the other parts of the game that are positive. So do you want to set me straight on Arber Xhekaj?
Well, are you? Do you think he should be in the lineup or not?
I given who's available, I do like Enstrom. I really liked him. I thought he's smart plays, but Canadians do need some size back there if you want to be successful in the playoffs. Xhekaj's got to find his way. So I think I do like him in the lineup, but am I of the position that he's a fully formed player and that he doesn't make mistakes? No. So I'm curious, what is your view of Arber Xhekaj's play of late? Let's say over the past couple of weeks. What have you seen insofar as his development goes?
Yeah. Well, I think his play has been solid other than that, second period where, like, his last few games, I've seen progression. And in the first period, I thought he was really good. And I think it was a case of him getting maybe a little overconfident and thinking, okay, I can make, I can make seam passes through the middle that'll be right on the tape. And I'm just, look out world, here I come and type thing. And he got sent back down to earth and then was smarter in the third period again. He's got to play a simple game, I think, with the puck. He's not going to ever be a Lane Hudson out there. And, he has to realize that. And I think he did. I don't know if Marty talked to him. Probably not. Just like, that quote I was telling you about him. But mind you, he's not like Demidov and he was talking about really skilled players. And I don't think that's Xhekaj, but Engstrom makes mistakes too, right? Like he was playing protected minutes and we saw some errors from him the last few games too. So it's not like he doesn't make errors too at the NHL level at this point. You've been harping on them needing more size on defense, physicality.
Where's the beef?
If they're going to do something in the playoffs, so that's Xhekaj, right? I mean, ideally, he figures things out. He curbs those mistakes. He keeps progressing here, and he's in the lineup in the playoffs because I think they need that presence. He's the last few games he's laid some real big hits, and I'm sorry, you're a forward in the NHL and you're coming in, you see your teammate get plastered along the wall. The next time you're bringing it in, you might dump that in a little quicker than maybe you normally would, just for self-preservation.
He is Grant McCagg, American Macramalla. This is HabsCast, all things Montreal Canadiens. All right, let's shift our focus. There's still more Canadiens talk to be had with respect to our roster. We'll address that later on in the podcast, but let's shift gears and talk the Calder Trophy race. Right now, it's a three-man race, Demidov, Seneca, and Matthew Schaefer. Maybe, Grant, from your standpoint, let us know what you believe is the likely outcome here. Who is going to win the Calder Trophy?
Yeah, I think it's a four-man race, and I think you have to include Wallstedt in there. Okay. He's third in save percentage in the NHL as a rookie goalie and fourth in win percentage, which is mighty impressive for a rookie goalie in the NHL. I do wonder, though, the one thing that I think might, and I have him fourth if you were to do the voting right now, and those three guys you mentioned ahead, although Seneca and him would be, I could see it going either way in the voting personally. Mm-hmm. But the thing that I think may end up ultimately hurting him a bit is the fact that he's on pace to play 33 games and is still, technically the backup goalie on his own team. So for me, as you mentioned, those three guys, Seneca, Demidov, and Schaefer are the three. Right now, I've got it. Schaefer 1, Demidov 2, Seneca 3. And if you look at I got a couple of stats here I'll bring up. Just here are the even strength points. And this is where I think it makes it maybe a little closer between Schaefer and Demidov when you consider this. There's a 13-point spread between them in even strength points. Schaefer, like 13 or 6, quite a few of his points have come on the power play. But when you look at this, it's Demidov 1 point over Seneca, and then actually Oliver Kapanen third with 24. But that right there would suggest that maybe Seneca is not far from Demidov if you were to do, when you look at just what they're doing at even strength. And that Oliver Kapanen is justifiably fifth on that list, I would think, for various reasons, being the only center too. Here are the points at this, right now. Demidov by 5 over Seneca. Seneca with more goals. I think they put a little bit of weight on your goal scoring too. Schaefer with more goals than Demidov. Schaefer playing 24 minutes a game. Schaefer having Islanders in the 5th spot in the Eastern Conference when not many of us thought that they would be in the playoffs this year. I think you have to, and also I know it's not maybe, it's an unsaid thing, but the fact that he's only 18 years old and he turned 18 in September also is weighed in as a factor in what he's doing is pretty much unprecedented on the blue line this year. It's incredible. And as Demidov is going to have to win the rookie race by the points spread between those two, I believe, is probably going to have to be 20 plus for him to get the nod. And I mean, in the last 10 years, 8 times it's gone to the points leader. So typically it is, but the 2 years that it didn't, the 1 year where it went to a defenseman over the forward points leader was Seider, and he had 13 less points than the top scorer. I think it was Bunting. But I think the spread, because Schaefer is 18, because he's playing 24 minutes a game, because he's got the Islanders in his spot, Demidov's going to have to probably hit 80 points or something like that, like really heat up and outpace him by at least 20 points if he's going to win the Calder, I believe. I think Schaefer has to be the prohibitive favorite at this point.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to argue that because last season when it was Lane Hutson versus Celebrini, one of the arguments was, well, Lane Hutson's a defenseman, and that position is more difficult to learn, although Celebrini was a centerman. Not like Demidov, who's a winger. A lot of responsibilities as a defenseman, taking care of your own end, also trying to contribute offensively. So typically a defenseman has more responsibility, and it was really impressive to see Lane Hutson be able to handle playing defense at the NHL level in his first year in the manner in which he did when it came to stick work and angling and gap control. And on top of that, producing offensively. That stuff was all really impressive. So if you can't really in good conscience and good faith make that argument and then turn around and say, well, Demidov deserves a Calder if the points are close. I agree with you. 20-point gap, we'll give it to Demidov. But even then, it still may give voters pause a bit because Schaefer is playing 23 minutes and change a game. He's not being sheltered like Engstrom was. He's playing against the other team's best players. He's producing. I think he has 6 power play goals, which is pretty impressive for a defenseman. Nowadays on the power play, you score off the flank, off the sidewalls. That's typically where you score. Demidov, Caulfield, Slafkovsky, maybe in the bumper. It's very rare you score from the point. On top of that, Schaefer doesn't seem to shy away from the big moments, and he seems to flourish as he did against the Leafs in overtime 3-on-3, which is different, I get. But, he took the puck wide, cut in front of the net, and scored. If Demidov can edge out Schaefer by 25 points, that gap is probably too substantial for Schaefer to overcome, and Demidov may get the Calder. But I do think because Schaefer is a defenseman, because he plays big minutes, and because he is a prominent and important part of that team, Demidov is facing an uphill battle here for the Calder. I think He beats out Seneca, assuming things continue as they have. He got another 3 points last night against the Canucks. Demidov did, but Schaefer obviously is as big competitor for that. As for Arber Kapanen, he leads all rookies with 16 goals. So where would you rank Kapanen among your top 5? Because I mean, we forget about him because he wasn't drafted first, second, or even fifth overall.
Yeah, I just want to add a little bit to what the initial discussion. You know, you also have to consider last year Hudson. He played big minutes on a team that he got into the playoffs that wasn't expected to get into the playoffs, and Schaefer's doing that this year, right?
Yep.
And I think that was a major consideration as to why Hudson won over Celebrini, who played less games, right? And would have had more points, but the spread wouldn't even, like the points per game and how it evened out, he would have maybe had a 10-point lead on, and I think you need 15 plus to beat a defenseman. Points are just, for whatever reason, 8 out of the last 10, it's gone to the player with the most points. And the 2 times it didn't, it was Hudson, the defenseman, and also Kel McCarr, the defenseman, who had more points per game than Quinn Hughes, right? He had played 12 less games and was only 3 points behind him. So points is a huge factor. It always is. But if you're a defenseman and you're close, and if he scores more goals than Demidov too, I mean, assists aren't, and justifiably so, because there can be a lot of secondary assists. I don't think assists are, you know, as important as scoring goals, obviously. And, you know, if Matthew Schaefer ends up 18 points back, but he has more goals than Demidov, and he gets the Islanders into a playoff spot, and he's playing 24 minutes a game. He leads all rookies in game-winning goals as he is right now with 3. It's tough. It's going to be tough to. I still suspect that the nod would go to Schaefer.
And at the same time, too, I don't know if Kapanen has all those goals without Demidov. He's got a lot of primary assists. He also plays. His vision is simply exquisite on the ice.
Yeah.
And whether he wins the Calder or not, I mean, it's 1A, 1B here. Demidov is going to be a star. There's no doubt about that. He already has that star quality. And what I find astonishing, I think he turned 20 in December. I think that's right. He plays a 200-foot game for a winger. I mean, he's F1 on turbo, man. I mean, this guy will chase you down the ice and eat you alive. I coach a lot of kids, and I have in hockey and baseball and basketball. And I'll say one thing. You cannot increase a kid's compete by 1%. Compete is a function of personality, and that is it. You cannot compete by 0.5%. So when a player like Demidov has compete that sits at 100%, you have to count your lucky stars. Not only that, the man he's built like a man. He's not 20. He doesn't look physically 20. And he's so shifty in the way he skates. Maybe this is a new thing with respect to how people are training and working on their skating. It's not necessarily north-south as much as, and edge work obviously is important, but using edge work in a different way, being a little more shifty, right? Like little jukes back and forth, like a running back. Watching Demidov play is incredibly special. So the Canadians have got Kapanen and Demidov, Grant, in the top 5 when it comes to the Calder Trophy, probably. That's a pretty great position to be in. If you're the Montreal Canadiens, coming off Lane Hudson winning Rookie of the Year, and then maybe you have another Russian come in and win Rookie of the Year next year, or maybe an Egyptian.
Yeah, Ager. I look back on it in Calder Trophy voting, and in recent times, the only year I believe where 2 players from the same team were in the top 5 or top 6 in Calder voting were Matthews and Nylander from the same team, and that certainly was a springboard for them to be contenders, right? Each year, at least in the regular season. But absolutely, and Cappy is benefiting from playing with Demidov, no doubt about it. You still have to finish those off, though. And Kapanen is a finisher. He's got a really good shot, even though last night he got robbed a couple times. You have to give kudos to the goalie making that one save. I mean, that was Cappy did everything right. He anticipated the play, got to the puck. It was going in from a pretty bad angle if the goalie doesn't get his stick out there and knock it away with an incredible save.
He's Grant McCagg. I'm Eric Macramalla. This is HabsCast, all things Montreal Canadiens. Grant, NHL scout, and was also a scout for the Montreal Canadiens. As far as rookies coming down the line, give me your top two who you're most excited about for the Montreal Canadiens. Obviously, that's the leading question.
Rookies, like
new players coming into the fold over the next couple of years.
Okay.
Who are you most excited about?
Well, I mean, I'm excited about. I'm excited about Jarosky and Hage, obviously, from an offensive standpoint. They're very exciting players. Who do I think will be the best? I don't necessarily think they'll be the two best coming up, but I'm excited about them. Reinbacher, I'm maybe not completely excited about, but I think he'll be one of the two best rookies coming up. So depends like which way you frame the question, right? I mean, I'm excited about what Reinbacher will bring from a defensive standpoint and size and keeping pucks out of his own net. That's not always an exciting part of the game, but as a scout, that excites me. So I'd have to have Reinbacher as one of the two, and basically a tie between Jarosky and Hage. You know, both of them have first line winger potential. They could be the ones that fill that spot with Caulfield and Suzuki. And if not, if they do become NHL centers, then second or third line, middle line centers for sure. But right now, I mean, one day I could say it's Hage that excites me more. Then Jarosky does a couple things as Jarosky excites me more. So it kind of bounces back and forth for me between those two.
I think those are two interesting picks. There's another Canadiens draft pick we should talk about. He's getting a little bit of coverage now in the press. That's Bryce Pickford. Yeah. Plays for the Medicine Hat Tigers. 38 games in the WHL where Guley played as well. 32 goals, 28 assists, 60 points in 38 games for a right shot defenseman. Tell me what we should know about Bryce Pickford and ultimately, Grant, whether this will translate to the NHL level.
Yeah, he might excite me a little bit too as well, Eric.
You don't seem like the excitable type, so this means something to me.
Yes. Well, I mean, he's on pace for 55 goals, I believe it is, which will break junior records. I have not seen maybe a player that I think shoots better than him, like a prospect since I started scouting. His release, his velocity and accuracy, like all three are 9 or 10 out of 10. If you were to check off boxes, his shot is just amazing. And if you have a truly elite quality in your game, that can translate to the NHL. He will score goals against any goalie in the world if and when he gets to the NHL. Obviously, it's going to take some time, I think, in the AHL, in part because the Canadiens just right now are pretty stacked. Like, Reinbacher's going to be in the lineup before him. Reinbacher's way ahead of him defensively at this point, but that's understandable. Him being 4 years a pro now, a couple years older, top 5 pick, 6'3" as opposed to 6 foot or 6'1.5". So he'll have to adapt to the pro game in the AHL for at least 1 year, I think. But I can see him being a staple on the Habs power play down the line. And this configuration that you have to have 4 forwards on the power play down the line with the Canadians Pickford's going to change that. I don't think there's any, like, Bryce Pickford or Brendan Gallagher on the second power play, Bryce Pickford or Alex Texia on the second power play. Bryce Pickford, you know what I mean? Like, this guy with, his ability to move the puck, but that shot is going to have to be on an NHL power play down the road, and you got to utilize it. Obviously, Lane Hutson's not going to be moved off the power play. Probably not Noah Dobson either. So you find a spot for this guy on your power play when he's NHL ready. Start him off third pairing. That might be what he ends up, because you got Dobson and Reinbacher ahead of him. Do I think he'll ever 5-on-5 be ahead of those two? Probably not. He is decent defensively, but those guys bring elements that you just, with the size, mobility combo that they have, the range, the ability to, especially for Reinbacher to clear the crease and all that, they're probably going to be ahead of him in the pecking order for at least the next 5 years. But third pairing on a cup contender, power play staple that can maybe score 15 to 20 goals for you is a pretty nice piece.
Okay, well, let me ask you this, because this is what this podcast offers. Us talking to Grant McCagg, NHL scout, and you have been bang on in a lot of your assessments of these players and providing information that is simply not available elsewhere. So let's just stay on Bryce Pickford for a second, playing the WHL. The criticism with him is that his straight line speed is underwhelming and is not explosive in his first couple of steps. You've reviewed some of the tape. What does the tape tell you about Bryce Pickford and how he skates?
Yeah, you got that. You've read that somewhere, have you?
I've called it together through a number of articles.
Okay.
That they said just the one knock against Pickford is his straightaway speed is not great. He's just not, but he's still agile and you'll be happy to know, uses all 4 edges on his skates, Grant. You'll be happy to know that. But when you watch him skate, do you say, wait a minute, there's an issue here, or no, this is fine and it can translate?
Well, like as I noted, Eric, he doesn't have the size mobility of Reinbacher and Dobson, and that's why he's likely to be third pairing defenseman at even strength. That's what he's going to have to keep working on more than anything to win a spot in the NHL and then be able to utilize that great shot of his. But I think it's good enough. It's more maybe his backward skating too for me than it is his forward skating. I don't think, like, I wouldn't call it below average. His forward skating, his first couple steps are decent, but it's not elite, and it's something that I think he's a fairly stocky kid, and he's maybe put on could be a little top heavy at this point. And hey, I mean, if that's what's helping him score all those goals, I wouldn't say mess with it too much. Just keep working on maybe you lean muscle a little bit in the off season, try to get a little quicker. And, that's why I think it'll take him a couple of years at the AHL level. Just bring the skating up and, keep improving it over 2 off seasons, learn the pro game, get to the point where you're at least adequate defensively out there, and utilize this guy's special talent to score goals.
Last discussion point here on Pickford, just relying on some of the comments here. So you got the Cave 9550. Pickford is 19 and should be dominating the junior league. We have Francois Bedard, who I assume is Connor Bedard's uncle brother's roommate. Dominating at 19 is normal, but his season is historic. might break all records by any defenseman in history of the CHL. As a scout, when you watch a 19-year-old playing in the CHL, to what extent do you attribute age to success?
Well, I don't agree with Slafkovsky saying he should be dominating in junior league because he's 19 years old. You have to be dominant to dominate. You doesn't matter what age you are. Like, that's why players get drafted that were, well, he's an example. He wasn't drafted in his draft year. And then last year, he had a hell of a season. And yeah, he should be good at 18 in junior. But he went in the third round because of just how dominant he was even last year. So, age, an NHL scout that I respect a lot has told me a while ago, age doesn't really matter if it doesn't matter if you're really good at 18, 19, 20, 21. What matters is that you're really good. And
yes. Well said. Yes, well said.
Yeah,
absolutely. He's Grant McCagg, NHL scout, former scout for the Montreal Canadiens, American Macramalla. I have no formal experience in the National Hockey League, but I do coach 9-year-olds in hockey, so that makes me incredibly qualified to
Marty,
host this
got Marty
podcast.
a job.
That's right. He was coaching, but Marty's a little bit smarter than me. It's kind of funny you mentioned Marty. I do want to talk a bit about Brendan Gallagher, and if we have time here, potential contracts for Demidov and Kapanen are two of the latter issues that you want to talk about. But I was just thinking back to the hiring of Marty St. by Kent Hughes and Jeff Gordon, a guy who had no NHL coaching experience, someone who is a bit of a Renaissance man, intelligent, thoughtful, patient, focused on process over results, particularly in the beginning. Looking back, man, Grant, that was a hell of a gutsy move to hire Marty St. Louis as a head coach of one of the most storied franchises in NHL history. It really took a lot of guts and a lot of moxie, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Like, who'd have thought that hiring a philosopher as a head coach would. You ever see that Monty Python skit with the soccer players and the
Yes,
philosophers
yes.
against and Socrates is out there and
yes.
Eureka!
Yes.
Archimedes
Yes.
goes up with the
Like he should have like a long wig and and some kind of some kind of staff or something and contemplating and ruminating over the Montreal Canadiens. I love it. It's just incredible. Like it maybe didn't get enough attention when he was hired. Like, oh, it's risky when he's hired. But the Canadiens were so bad, none of us cared, right? And now you look back, it's like, oh my! Not only was it gutsy, Grant, it was the perfect hiring. Let me ask you this: how I'm going to use a bad word? How in the hell did Hughes and Gordon know that St. Louis was the right guy to hire? How in the hell did they know that?
Well, they knew him pretty well,
Yeah, but he never coached.
Yeah, well, just when you listen to him, you know that this guy's just his intellectual plane is on a different level than most hockey players. Like he's Ken Dryden, kind of almost in that stratosphere when it comes to just how he thinks. And it's hey, I don't know if Ken Dryden would have been. Maybe Ken wouldn't have been a great coach because by the time his pregame speech was done, they'd all be sleeping on the in the dressing room on the bench. But I mean, Marty, I don't think Marty goes into the long dissertations like the the late great Ken Dryden did. But they just kept thinking outside the box, right? Picking up who knew that a player agent would be so good with no GM experience in GM too, right? It was a similar thing too. That I know Pierre Lacroix had done it, but it still wasn't that common to say, okay, well, this guy has no GM experience, but we're going to hire him as the GM. So there was already that, and then they turn around and say, well, we're going to do the same thing with the coach. it was thinking outside of the box, but hey, they had to check off for both GM and for coach, they had to check off the bilingual box, right? And both of them obviously could speak French, and they got away with it. Like, typically, the fact that they hired an English first GM wouldn't have gone over too well in Montreal with the media per se, but because he was from Montreal, because he could speak French and speak to the media well, because, like you said, I mean, they were down in the dumps and they had to start somewhere. They were a little less like, if the Habs had been good and they did it, maybe there'd have been more complaining. But at this point, they were willing to try anything, I think, the fans and the media. So they said, well, let's give these guys a chance. And good thing that the fan base and the media has been patient with the two, because all we've seen is progression each and every year, not only in points, but in just the culture and the confidence in the players and the organization.
That is the learned voice of Grant McCagg, NHL, a scout and former scout for the Montreal Canadiens. I'm Eric Macramalla, one of your rotating hosts for HabsCast, all things Montreal Canadiens. Let's get back to the Montreal Canadiens here, Grant. I want to ask you about the first line: Cole Caulfield, Nick Suzuki, Alexandre Tessier. Last week we talked about maybe the need has shifted for the Canadiens away from acquiring a second line center to acquiring a top six forward. And particularly someone to play on the right side, on the right side with Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki. Is that still a need, or is Tessier, is he the answer for the Montreal Canadiens? He is playing with more confidence. I think we would agree on that.
Yeah. Well, he might be the answer, like placeholder for now type thing. But do I think they're going to go far in the playoffs with Alex Texier on your first line? No, I don't think so.
Why? Maybe explain to our listeners why.
I just think they need a bigger, more physical presence. There's somebody that can muck it out, get the pucks for the other two. Texier isn't bad in that regard, but he's certainly not above average. And I really think that you need. that. We got Slaf on the second line doing that, and Demidov, as you say, the guy is a hound on the puck, in forechecking, back checking, the whole works. So you've got two of them really, and then Cappy, well, same thing. There is a lack of that on the top line. Suzuki, yeah, he goes in the corners here and there, but he's a center and he's got to stay back, and he's in the ideally he's protecting the center of the ice in the middle of the ice. Caulfield, competitive, and I'm not saying he doesn't win boards battles and stuff, but he's not your typical get the puck guy, because of his size. So I think they need Kirby Dach needs to come back, as far as I'm concerned. He needs to play like he played before he got injured or was starting to play. He needs to. We've seen glimpses of it before, and what he needs to do is grab the friggin' opportunity, go in there, play physical, drop the friggin' gloves like we've seen him do on occasion, protect his line mates. Like, if somebody runs Suzuki or Caulfield, go in there and friggin' I know we know we can fight. There was a time earlier in the year where Jake Evans ended up going into, I forget who the player was, but it was a big guy, and Dach was on the ice, and the guy had run over, I forget who it was, maybe Hudson, and Jake Evans went in to fight the guy, and didn't stand a chance. It should have been Dach right then and there, and he didn't. But we've seen him do it before. He can handle himself. Well, he needs to play more physical. He needs to go on that line, be the guy that goes in, uses that size, wins puck battles, gets the puck to the other guys, plays a hard game, hard on the forecheck, wear down opposing defenses, and because he's got really good puck skills, and he can cycle the puck. He can better than Texier. Texier's not bad at it, but he doesn't have the physical element that Doc does. That one extra.
Okay, let me ask you this, because I think we kind of get where you're going here. Let me ask you this. This is a question I've been wrestling with for some time. Sometime being about 2 weeks, which for me is forever. Who do you like better on the Montreal Canadiens, Bolduc or Texier? If you had to pick one player.
Well, I mean, at the moment, Texier.
No, but not at the moment. Like just overall, because I'm with you. I like Texier. He's big. He's quick. He's a fluid skater. Seems to be playing with more confidence. Bolduc got off to a great start. You and I talked like in week 2 that maybe his AAV on his next deal might be north of $5 or $6 million. Now it looks like it might be north of $1 million. That's pretty. It looks like a 1.5 million kind of guy, right? If you knock out those first few weeks, Bolduc has very much been a limited role player. Is he still someone, Grant, through your scouting lens, which we don't have? You see more than we do, which is in part is why I agreed to do this podcast, was to learn from you. Zach Bolduc, are you still betting on him? He's young, what, 22, 23?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and down the road here later this season too, Eric.
He's 22, by the way. He'll be 23 in February. Go ahead.
It may come down to Texier or Bolduc being out of the lineup too, right? And that's why it's an important question probably to ask. And one of the reasons why I asked you to be one of the hosts on here, Eric, because you asked those great questions. Texier's got better vision. He's a better playmaker. He can create more offense. Bolduc's got a better shot. He probably a better finisher, but he's not been finishing. And if he's not finishing, all he's basically bringing to the lineup right now is some physicality. I need to see more from him, but given his age, given that it's his second full season in the NHL, given that he played on the fourth line last year with St. Louis, and this year has been bounced around. He's played on every line. He's been a first liner, second liner, third liner, fourth liner, and not had any regular line mates. That's difficult when you don't have, Demidov and Kapanen are successful so far this year, in part because they've been together all year, and
But on the flip side, they together because they're effective. But he keeps moving around because he's been ineffective.
Well, right. But he was put in the first line because they needed to. He wasn't playing too badly on the.
No, he wasn't. Right.
On other lines, but then we need you to try. We need to try you out here. You look at his assist totals in junior, and you say, 60 assists. Surely the guy can make plays, but watching him play this year, I just keep coming to how the hell did he get 60 assists 1 year in junior? Like, was it his shots?
It was the Q, though, right? He was playing in the Q.
I know, but even there, 60 assists still tells you that the guy's got some,
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Okay, so what about this? Because you talked about the player I'm about to mention, and what you said to me, I never forgot, and I shared it with my 2 young boys, 12 and 9, but I passed it off as my own, obviously, because I want my kids to love me and to respect me. We talked about Joe Veleno, and I asked you what you thought. You said the play dies on his stick. And I asked you to explain that. It's like in the offense, when he's got the puck, and there's an offensive opportunity, that opportunity is for naught. It usually doesn't happen. And man, were you right. Veleno looks the part, does a lot of things well, but offensively, there ain't nothing there. And this is why the Blackhawks, a really bad team, probably didn't bring him back. Let me ask you this. Bolduc can play center, and the Canadiens have encouraged him to work on that. Is it a situation where Tessier for now stays, Bolduc stays, and when someone else comes back to the lineup, Bolduc drops to your fourth line center position and Veleno sits? Or he plays left and Blais sits, although I like Blais more than Veleno, to be honest with you. What are your thoughts? Could Bolduc center that fourth line with Veleno watching?
Well, like center ahead of Evans?
Oh, right. Evans is coming back too. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay. So who would you, assuming that it's between Veleno and Bolduc on that fourth line somewhere or third line, who do you prefer? Assuming they could each play the wing and play the wing fine. Who do you prefer?
Veleno or Bolduc, or do you mean Tessier or Bolduc?
No, who do you prefer, Bolduc or Veleno this season and not moving forward, just for this season and into the playoffs? So
okay,
Habs make the playoffs.
Because if everybody's healthy, they're both out of the lineup, right? I mean, that's dependent on Galley too.
Yeah, well, we'll get to Gallagher in a second, but of those two players, who do you? I want to talk about Gallagher. I definitely have something to say there, but who do you prefer of the two players? Who do you? Who do you sit and who do you play?
Well, plays are dying on both of their sticks. So I think you maybe sit both. But anyway, Bolduc. Veleno is hitting as much or more than Bolduc. He's playing as physically as Bolduc. He can take faceoffs. He can kill penalties. He's been playing better defensively, but obviously Bolduc's got the more potential to score goals for you. He has 10, even though he's not playing that well. That's a good question, and it's dependent on which you think you need more of. A guy with more offensive potential in your bottom six, or a guy that maybe can do more overall as far as keeping the puck out of your own net, which typically is what you want from a bottom six guy. In that regard, you might lean towards Veleno, but with everybody healthy, both of them may be out of the lineup. Like, I don't know. You can make the argument for Blais being ahead of them too, and I agree with what you said there. Like,
hold on, when you say everyone, so are you talking about? Okay, we got Evans, Newhook, Doc. Are you including Line in that as well, or is Line going to watch?
That's not even including Line.
So it's those three. It's Doc, Newhook, and Evans, correct? So out comes Beck, Veleno, and Bolduc, or out comes Beck, Veleno, and Blais.
Well, there's Anderson too, right?
Well, I forgot about Anderson. That's right.
Yeah. So, there's too many bodies here. Anderson's in the lineup. Evans is in the lineup. Newhook's in the lineup. Doc's in the lineup. They're all going to play. Now, so, it could be that both those guys are out. Beck will be sent back to the minors, probably. He's playing fine, but he can and still will. There's no rush on him. Blais, they have to make a decision on him in the next 5 days.
I like him. I like his style of play as a fourth liner. He's effective.
Well, he can play the physical role, right?
Yeah.
His hits per 60 are phenomenal.
There's a reason why the Canadiens brought him back, right? There's a reason, because they know they need more physicality.
Yeah. Well, it's possible that Blais stays in the lineup, especially at playoff time. You might, you might consider. It all depends too on what they do at the trade deadline. If they pick up a better version of Blais, which I think they probably are looking at, they'd like someone in that mold, but with a little more ability to create offense, then he'll be out. But he's got to be considered too at playoff time as somebody that would be on your fourth line and bring like a fourth line with Blais and Anderson on the wings is an attractive option. Look, sounds like Anderson might play tonight.
I see that from François Bedard, Connor Bedard's uncles, brothers, roommates, dog's master. Okay. I just made that up, by the way. That was pretty good. Okay. So the last here, as we wrap up, are you going to stay on after we're done, by the way? And the listeners can still ask you questions. So we encourage you
to getting lots of
questions for Grant.
Sure.
He'll stick around as long as you want, and you have access to Grant McCagg. That's a pretty good hockey mind I have access to. So if you have questions, ask him. My last question is about number 11, Brendan Gallagher. I love Brendan Gallagher. I tell my kids, this is who you probably want to be in life. Someone who works harder than anybody else, whose compete is through the roof, and who is frankly an inspiration to many who know how he plays and who he is. So I have nothing but profound respect for Brendan Gallagher. I'll say this season I watch him play, and more so over the past month, when he's on the ice and the puck's around, I'm like, do I just change the channel? Because I know how this is going to end. I'm not being rude. I'm not being mean. It's just an observation. I just don't find him effective any longer. And I wonder to what extent, Grant, the game has passed him by. I know that his style of play is not fast. He's not quick. He's not elusive. He's small. That all those things maybe are not aligned with where the NHL is at today when it comes to players that excel. Has the game passed him by? I feel bad asking the question because I love him more than anything. He's truly an inspiration. He's the Rudy of hockey. But has the game passed him by, Grant? And feel free to disagree.
Yeah, well, it's a tough one, Eric, because I'm in the same boat as you. Like, your heart says you keep him in the lineup. Your head says you don't. That he's going to have to come out. He's either going to have to be dealt at the trade deadline or has to sit when everybody's healthy. And you look at this from purely from a mental aspect and not an emotional aspect. I think he's got to be out of the lineup. But does that affect the team? Does it affect the team negatively?
Well, there's the argument. If you take him out, you're giving ownership of the team even more so to younger guys. And psychologically, that can make the team better. But it's possible they don't react well. But I doubt it. These are professionals and they know what they're doing. But the comment you're making is interesting, Grant. Like I didn't go as far as to say that because I thought that was hurtful. But I kind of agree. It's an open question. Should he be in this lineup when everyone's back? And I think the answer may well be no. I hate saying that.
Well, I hate to say it, but right now, if everybody was healthy, you'd have to be considering sitting him for sure. He seems to have energy for 15, 20 seconds and then, the shift's over. And unfortunately, there's still another 25 to 40 seconds to go in the shift. And then he's not effective at that point. And I never thought that would be the case with Gallagher because he's, his dad is a fitness fanatic and he is too and all that. And he's still in his early 30s. So really, that kind of surprises me that his stamina doesn't seem to be there anymore. But it is, unfortunately, what it is. And the Canadians, hey, they traded Serge Savard and Guy Lapointe, and I can name Steve Shutt, and I can name a lot of Hall of Famers that when they were on the downside of their careers and they weren't necessarily helping the Canadians as much as they were before, they ended up being moved, and and even more decorated and storied careers than Brendan Gallagher. Do you consider moving him at the trade deadline?
But how do you move a Gallagher whose AAV is $6.5 million unless you retain salary? That's going to be, so he's got one more year after this year. Is it a throw in to make the numbers work and then another team is nice enough to take him on?
Yeah.
Because really he's, other than Deneau, he's a remnant of the past.
Yeah.
You've got to cut ties.
Well, obviously, I'm not talking of the. Yeah, it would have to be creative trade, but Kent Hughes has made a few of those, and yeah, it would have to be some, especially if they look to bring in another key bottom six guy, and if they do that, I don't think they're just going to have way too many bodies, and at that point, there's just not a spot for Brendan Gallagher in the lineup. So, yeah, I mean, there's ways like getting rid of that salary. It might mean that you say, well, okay, it's a trade like Gallagher and a pick, right, for whatever, for a late pick or who knows. Like, but there are teams out there that still aren't as deep as Montreal is right now. Montreal just has a pile of depth. They really do. And there could be teams going to the playoffs that say, man, we could really use that leader, that inspiration, because the guy is.
You know what, though, Grant? I'm going to cut you off, but I've heard this argument so many times about the importance of Gallagher in the dressing room. This team, other than 2021, has won nothing effectively. And I was told by someone in that dressing room that the reason that team was so good in 2021 and beat the Leafs, it was two people. It was Shea Weber and it was Corey Perry. It was those two guys that led that team. And I have lots of stories I can tell you off the air about the team, what happened in the dressing room, but it's those two guys. Gallagher's around forever. He didn't get the C for a reason when it was given to Suzuki. Number one, they didn't probably see him in the long-term plans. And number two, probably just didn't believe that he was well suited for that. He's got 3 goals in 46 games. He's got an AAV of $6.5 million. It is going to be awfully difficult to trade him. It might be a situation Canadians look to buy him out next season. I don't know if that's an option. Do you want to do that? If it was the Las Vegas Golden Knights, they would cut ties. They're not afraid to do that. Montreal Canadiens are a different organization. It's actually not a bad thing. And I hate saying it. It's just his usefulness isn't where it needs to be. And there are many players in this line that are bigger, stronger, faster, and more skilled than Brendan Gallagher.
Well,
sorry,
4 or 5 years ago, he wasn't 32 years old and the elder statesman, right? Now he is, and he is more of a leader. Like Shea Weber and Corey Perry were older, right? They had more storied careers. So yeah, it made sense that they were the main leaders. But at the time, Gallagher was 27, 28. And that only makes sense that he wasn't the de facto leader of that group. But now he is the elder statesman. And, you know, it's a different situation, Eric, than it was in that year, because now he's the elder statesman. He's the de facto leader. You know, he's wearing the A, and he's revered around the league. Like, they still say a guy like that comes in, the scouts will say, well, that 5'9" guy plays like Brendan Gallagher, and it's completely complimentary.
Of course it is.
And he's going to still have some value for some teams that think, okay, well, he's only got a year left. It's not like we're taking on the guy that's got 5 years left. We can buy him out next year if he's not doing anything. But I think he can help us win a cup this year. That's still going to be attractive to a couple of teams out there if they think that this is a fit for what they need in the dressing room, what they need, and bring him in. It was like Corey Perry when they brought him in.
But Corey Perry's won a cup. I don't think Gallagher, I hate to say it, and
well, you don't have to win a cup to be.
I don't think Gallagher helps you win a cup. I just don't think he's good enough. Now, the buyout stats, by the way, if they buy him out at the end of the season, his AAV of $6.5 million is converted into a buyout cap of $3.83 million in the first year. So that's a savings of $2.6 million. And then in the second year, it's a cap of $1.33 million. Obviously, there's no cap at that year. So you're running a deficit of $1.3 million. But basically, it's about a $5 million cap hit spread over 2 years if you buy him out before next season. That's a negligible cap hit. Cap space is an asset, and it's something the Canadians will have to consider. They will have to consider Brendan Gallagher and his future with the team beyond this year if they don't do that at the trade deadline. I suspect that they will not. They will not move him. I just don't see that contract being moved. It's an off-season move. If anything, the team that gets him may buy him out. But I think it's a very difficult contract to move 3 goals 3
Right.
goals in 46 games.
Yeah.
And he's a -4 on a pretty good team, but that's fine. All
Yeah.
right. Well, Grant,
Well, their goal
go ahead.
differential's not great. I just quickly, Eric, because I did promote that we would talk about this just quickly. I want to ask you,
Sure.
do you think Kapanen and do you look at contract extensions for Kapanen and Demidov this offseason?
So their entry-level deals are done after the next season, so they can negotiate that. I think you do have to look at, and the Canadians have a pretty good track record of extending players in the final year of their deal. What type of money and term would we be looking at? I think Demidov's deal, likely to Kapanen's dismay, will be quite different than what Kapanen would be offered, I believe. I think for Kapanen, you're probably looking at a bridge deal, about a 2 or 3 year deal, taking him into as his UFA years, probably somewhere around $3 to $5 million, maybe 4.5 to 5 million a year for Kapanen. He'll be seen as a byproduct of Demidov and Slafkovsky. Of course, his agent will argue that's not the case. He's got a lot of goals as a rookie, but that's likely what I'm seeing. I don't think the Canadians sign him to the max deal, which on the new CBA is 7 years, no longer 8 years for the incumbent team. Probably gets a 3-year deal at about 4 to 4.5 million a year. For Demidov, you lock him in. This is what Canadians do with their best players, lock him in for the max 7 years, probably at around 9 million a year. Probably maybe even a bit more than Lane Hutson, maybe 9.25 million a year to 9.5 million a year, because with the cap going up as much as it is, I suspect that the agents, what they do is when they negotiate these deals, is they don't look at what other players have made that are kind of the similar, look at what percentage of the cap those players made. As the cap goes up, Demidov will be entitled to more money because he's being entitled to the same percentage of the cap as players of his ilk. So I suspect a 7-year deal at 9.25, maybe.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think that's why it makes sense to try to do it this year, because he might be a 100-point scorer next year, and then he's getting what, 12 million plus a year, right? But if he ends up close to a point per game this year, I could see it being double figures, like 10.
Well, the thing is,
plus.
Lane Hutson's what is 8.885. That's his AAV, right? Lane Hutson is the best player on the team. I think without him, the Canadians are not where they are last year and this year. How much more can you make than Lane Hutson? I don't know. I agree with you. If I'm his agent, I'm going for 10 and a half, 11 million.
Yeah.
But realistically, 9.25 is aligned with how Hughes has been able to sell the team concept to these players so beautifully. Right now, 47% of our salary at 20 and 2030 is accounted for by our core. That leaves 53% up for grabs. That's fantastic for the Canadians, isn't it?
No, for sure. And I think just the way the cap is projected to keep going up, I think realistically, like, I don't think Lane can get his nose out of joint if Demidov ends up getting more than him.
Mm-hmm.
And you can argue that, who's going to be the better player down the road. It could well be Hutson, but I think it could be Demidov too. Somewhere in the between 9 and 11 million, I think is where he would fit in. And Cappy, like, what if he's, and it's possible, what if he's a 35 goal scoring penalty killing center next year in the NHL? They're a rare breed,
He's Lehkonen with finish.
Well,
that's what I say.
So is he, like, then you got to sign him 7 million plus on a long-term deal, probably.
Yeah.
What if they get 5? What if they get him for 5 at 5?
You can get 5 or even 5 at 6. I could see 5 at $6 million a year for 5 years. I think that's a good deal for a guy like Kapanen. Okay. Absolutely. For Demidov, I see something under 10. I think Lane Hutson, I'm going to make a bold statement. I think Lane Hutson is the better of the two, in part because he plays defense, eats up a lot of minutes, a far more important position. Wing, as you know, is discounted. I also think, if you're ready for this, Grant, I'm going to blow your mind right now. I don't know if you're ready. I don't know if you're sitting down. Lane Hutson is a future Hall of Famer. That's what I think. Lane Hudson will be inducted in the Hall of Fame if things continue the way that they're continuing and progressing. The same is not with maybe that will be with Demidov. But anyway, the bottom line is Canadians are laughing. They are rich in player talent, ability, and skill. It's fantastic. Those two guys will be paid well, but I think we agree they won't be paid anywhere near the same. Agreed?
You are sitting down? I'll go one further on that.
Yes.
They'll both be Hall of Famers.
You think they'll drive to the Hall of Fame induction together?
Absolutely.
For sure. Maybe they'll take an Uber.
Will be
but if you take an Uber, don't take it with Patrick Kane. Only bad things happen when Patrick Kane gets into an Uber. All right. Look, it's 2:15. We're way over, but I invite the listeners to stay in here. Ask Grant anything you want. Again, you have access to a terrific hockey mind. He knows stuff before it happens, and he's right about it. So stick around, ask him questions. Grant, this has been, I can't believe that's an hour and 15 minutes. This has been so much fun again. I love talking to you. You're my favorite Habs fan. So he's Grant McCagg. I'm Eric Macramalla, and this has been HabsCast. All things Montreal Canadiens. Chat soon. Take care. And stick around for Grant.
Okay, bye now. What a host, folks. I know I keep getting comments here. He's, Eric's best host, and hey, I can't disagree. He's a smooth operator, and I love when he can find the time to come on HabsCast and ask me those great questions that always get me thinking. So thanks as always to Eric for being so generous with his time and finding an hour in his busy work schedule each week to come on and talk Habs with me. Let's get to some questions here from you fine folks here. We've had a lot of discussion on here. Samurai, who always comes in early. Early bird gets a worm, Sammy? I predict Demi ends with not quite, but close to a point per game. Yeah, I think he's going to be somewhere between 70 and 80 points. Like, he's projecting that way. If you go off his point totals in the last 10, he's going to definitely, he might end up with 80. Now, if he ends up with 80 points and Schaefer has, let's say, 55 and the Islanders miss the playoffs, then it's pretty hard not to go with Demi as the guy. But all things considered, what Schaefer's doing, playing 24 minutes on a team that he is willing into the playoffs, as someone mentioned it goes without saying, if you're playing 24 minutes, you're playing important minutes. But someone brought up the fact, penalty kill, power play, protecting leads. He's doing it all and he turned 18 years of age last September. It's just phenomenal what he's doing. What Demidov is doing is fantastic. What Matthew Schaefer's doing is phenomenal. So it's right now still you're holding this vote. If I'm asked, and even with my Montreal bias and seeing Demidov every night and not seeing Schaefer every night, I would have to go with Matthew Schaefer as the Calder winner. Go Habs. Someone gifted me a 1-month membership. Thank you. That would probably be Brian, better known as Germain Benoit on here. You can thank him the next time he's on when you are. Ronnie Williamson, good morning from Calgary. Early, well, it's not early now, but appreciate you tuning in. Eric and Grant together, does it get any better? Not normally, no. Eric's, you could get better than me, but Eric for sure. Eric and whoever is awesome. Slav is showing his dominance right now. Absolutely. He's been, he is becoming a preeminent power forward at the age of 21. Isn't that fantastic, folks? Schaefer or Demidov, no one else is close. Yeah, it's funny that poll that they had where Demidov was 4th in the voting. I mean, come on. As good as Seneca and Wallstedt have been, it has to be it has to be between the points leader and the defenseman that's doing it all. Francois says Wallstedt is not only close but probably ahead of Demidov. Again, Francois, I think the fact that he's backup goalie and that he's likely only going to play in 33 to 35 games this year, is he helping his team more than Demidov? You can argue both ways, right? But I think because of that, if he was the de facto starter on his team, then yes, you would maybe have him ahead of Demidov right now. But the sample size, his save percentage, we'll see. At the end of the year, if he's still top 3 in save percentage, if his win percentage remains top 4 in the league, he's definitely in the conversation. But for me, it's Demidov and Schaefer with the lead, and then take your pick between Seneca and Wallstedt for the 3rd spot, and Cappy coming in at 5. But that can change too, right? We still got almost half a season to go. They were saying that he started figure skating. What are you talking about? Slav took up figure skating here? Wallstedt is currently among the best goalies, might even be in the Vezina discussion. Demidov isn't at that level of best forwards of the league. Yeah, well, I mean, you put in a lot of factors, Francois, and that would be the main factor as to why you might pick Wallstedt ahead. But hey, it's again, he's among the best goalies as a backup, right? And so is he really helping his team more than Demidov is? And a backup is not going to win the Vezina. He's not really in the discussion. Maybe in your mind he's in the discussion, but a backup goalie it never comes close to winning the Vezina. Ronnie Williamson. Arber had a brain fart last night. Leave him in. He's been playing incredible lately. Absolutely, he has. He's yeah, he had 2 brain farts last night. You don't overreact to that. Over the past dozen games, you can count on one hand the brain farts that Arber Xhekaj had. So you don't take him out of the lineup based on a couple of mistakes in one period of hockey. Kapanen deserves mention. Demidov's a runaway. Schaefer and that goalie are close seconds. Seneca's in the mix. There's no way that Demidov is a runaway. I gather that you're a passionate Habs fan, because only a passionate Habs fan would say that Demidov is a runaway over a defenseman playing 24 minutes a game that has more goals than he does, that is just turned 18 years of age. No, I appreciate you weighing in, I wonder, but Demidov is in no way, shape, or form the runaway. And if anybody was a runaway right now, you'd have to say it was Schaefer, the other way around. It all depends on how they make their choices. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Zeffel. We now we know that Schaefer's a defenseman, Demidov is a forward, and Wallstedt is a goalie. Thank you. Lots of blame on Arber on this play, but how come a defenseman is surrounded by 3 forwards? Yeah, people can always find other blame, right? Well, there wasn't 3 forwards around because of the crappy pass that Arber made. That's why. Both goals he made crappy passes. And then he went over to where the other defenseman was, fell down, left the guy alone. You would call Schaefer an offensive defenseman specifically. Well, you haven't been watching him too much then, because he kills penalties. He's on at the end of games. He's playing 20. An offensive defenseman specifically doesn't play 24 minutes a game, lead his team in ice time at 18 years of age if he's just an offensive defenseman. Kid does it all. He does. I think that the Habs need to sit Galley for back-to-back games. Either play the... Yeah, well, I've been saying that for a while. If and when you do sit him, it should be for in back-to-back games. Yeah. Cash fan. Hey, thanks for helping me here. Elbow smash that like button, guys. Yes, absolutely. You like Habs Hall of Famers? Well, here's one. Yvan Cornwallier. Yvan got his white plank flooring at logsend.com. Go visit their site, www.logsend.com. Check it out. They reclaim deadheads, logs from the Ottawa River, the bottom of the river, that have been sitting there for well over 100 years. It's amazing. And what they do is turn it into the most beautiful flooring that you will find anywhere on the planet. It's amazing stuff. Well, preserved logs, right? These guys are amazing. Check out their website. Do me a favor. If you're looking for flooring, get a quote from them. Tell them that Grant sent you. They will look after you and give you the best possible deal on installation if you want the installation, on the the flooring if you need it and you want specialized beautiful flooring that's unique. Please visit Logs End at logsend.com. Tell them that Grant sent you. And thank you, as always, to Rob and Gord Black for their support and helping getting HabsCast rolling here. All right, we've got 80 people on board. That's not bad for a Tuesday afternoon. Now we'll keep asking some questions here. Yeah, Francois, like, he's elite both offensively, defensively. He's facing top. Yeah, for sure. Really tough for a goalie to get the Calder. Have to have an absolutely outstanding season. Well, there's been one goalie win the Calder Trophy in the past 20 years, and that was Mason, Steve Mason. And hey, he wasn't a backup goalie, right? Like, it just, the odds that even though he's an elite backup goalie, obviously, and he's on pace for 33 to play 33 games, which is decent, a backup goalie is not going to win a Calder over, well, right now Demidov is on pace to be the highest scoring player, rookie, since Matt Barzal. And that was basically 9 years ago. So the highest point total, he's on pace to have the highest point total in the last 9 years of the rookie race. Is a backup goalie going to beat that out? No. Brock Faber was right in the hunt there a couple of years ago because of his ice time and how valuable he was to Minnesota because of that. His point totals are nowhere near Matthew Schaefer, and he was a couple of years older too. It is factored in. You know, the kid comes in at 18 years of age and leads a team in ice time on defense, leads them to top 5 in the standings when I don't know. Most experts had the Islanders 13th or lower in the conference. It's just no backup goalie, no matter how good his stats are, is not going to be voted. It's just not happening. He's not going to be voted over a defenseman that it's doing stuff that is basically unprecedented. It's just amazing what Matthew Schaefer's doing. And hey, as much as I'd like to see a Habs player win it back-to-back, right now, for me, it's not even really a real discussion. Schaefer's leading, and Demi's going to have to come down to earth, and Demi's going to have to just, hit 80+ points probably to be considered ahead of Schaefer. In terms of voting, it'll be difficult for him to end up 5th. He falls within a group of players where people are biased towards hometown rookies. Yes and no. Like, Nylander finished in the top 5 in rookie voting. Actually, it was 3. Now that I think of it, the Leafs are the only team that had 3 in the top 6. So, it wasn't just they had Nylander, Matthews, and Marner all finished top 6 in voting. So, there had to be a lot of votes from outside of Toronto for them to do that. So, hey, if Kapanen, the last rookie to have more than 90 seconds a game killing penalties and score 25 goals at center was Jordan Staal. That's how far back you got to go. And Cappy's on pace for that. And if he scores more, if he hits 30 goals and is a regular penalty killer, I don't know how far you have to go back, but it could be like 20, 30 years ago that a rookie center came in and did that equaled that. So what Cappy's doing is quite unique. It really is. And people now are just starting to catch on to this, that, wow, this Kapanen guy is legit. And sure, you can make the argument, Kapanen's benefiting from playing with Slafkovsky and Demidov, and sure, he is. But they're 21 and 20 years of age, right? And he's contributing to making them better too. It does go both ways. Yeah, he's gotten some excellent passes from both Slaf and Demidov. Slaf and Demidov are great playmakers, but Cappy's a pretty good finisher too. He's got a great one-timer, a great shot. Being 18 should have nothing to do with it. Well, it does. It weighs in. If you're an 18-year-old and you put up the same stats as a 24-year-old, guess what? The 18-year-old's going to win the Calder. It's been that way forever, Jay. I know you always like to come on here and disagree. In fact, that's the only time you weigh in is to say something where you disagree. But no, you're wrong. Sorry, buddy. Steve Mason. Yeah, that's right. Ken Dryden before that. It's not very often. Brodeur Belfour. No, yeah, that's right. Raycroft was another. There's been a few. It wasn't just Dryden. It didn't go from Mason to Dryden. There's been a few. I'm not knowledgeable. Just look at a website. There you go. Francois is not that knowledgeable. He's just real good at Google. Yeah. I'd be shocked if it wasn't Schaefer. Demidov might be the rookie scoring leader, but what Schaefer's doing is incredible. Yeah, absolutely. NHL did an internal vote. Yes, they did. And as I mentioned, Demidov was 4th. And that's crazy. Really is. He's got to be top 2. He really does. I don't think you can look at it any other way. Hey, first donation of the day. Francois shoots me a Canadian toonie. Thank you very much, sir. Donnie McCaskill gifted a membership for 1 month. Love the community. Go Habs, go. Yes, and I think I'm going to meet up with Donnie on Thursday before the game. He was suggesting maybe I watch the game with him, but I got to do a podcast after the game here, folks. Can't miss one. You guys take precedence, even with such a kind, generous offer as to treating me. He even offered, say, cab there, cab home, drinks and steak on him. But you know what? I have to be back to do my post-game show like I do every game, right after the game. But I am going to meet Donnie hopefully on Thursday, meet up with him, have a couple of beers before the game, and he'll be the first fella that I meet from this Habs community since we started this up. So, George, how do you donate on here, Grant? Keep up the good work. Yeah, well, you donate. I don't know. Somebody can explain that to me. I've never donated, so. I'm the wrong guy to ask that to, I guess. As Kenny said, Evans is the 4th line center. A good point by Kenny as well. Bolduc played decently with Doc. I could see, at least at the start here, maybe if they keep Texier on the top line, Doc, Bolduc, Danault as the 3rd line. But best case scenario for me is that they end up Doc. I think in the best case scenario, really, he's the guy that I want. The former top 3 pick, the guy with more potential, the guy that if he puts it all together can be a top 6 player, the guy that has the size, that has the physical elements to be the ideal replacement for Slaf on that top line. I hope that it's Doc that ultimately ends up there. I don't see Texier being a first line guy on a playoff team that goes far. I mean, kudos to what he's done so far, but Matthew Butler, Demidov, hands down. Well, again, there's some bias coming in here on Demi. No, it's not hands down. It just can't be. You have to be subjective about it and objective about it. And right now it's Schaefer. It just is. But we'll see. The Russian part of it, yeah, well, again, it won't have anything to do with him being Russian. If Schaefer wins, it'll have everything to do with Schaefer deserving it. Assuming no injuries, I'd be shocked if it wasn't Schaefer. Demidov might be the rookie scoring leader, but what Schaefer's doing is incredible. Yeah, and for him to have more goals, as a defenseman, and for him to have 3 game-winning goals so far, 2 in overtime, he's just, 24 minutes a game, has the Islanders in the 5th place when they had no business being there. It's Schaefer is just unbelievable. Oh, Pickford will be Bobby Orr with the Habs. There you go. Well, Pickford doesn't skate like Bobby Orr did. Bobby Orr was in a whole different league. Bobby Orr is the best player in the history of the NHL, in my opinion. I hate to say it, but I do. As a guy that grew up hating Bobby Orr, he was just absolutely phenomenal. No knee injuries. He could have played till he was 60. Okay. Must have at least 30 more points. Well, maybe. It's going to have to be at least 20, I think. And it's possible, but Pickford is a stud in the WHL. Don't understand how he was not picked. Yeah, right. Folks, apologies here, but I am going to have to step away for about 30 seconds to 40 seconds. I will be right back. Thanks for hanging in there. We've got 66 people on board, which isn't crazy, but it's a good gang for the middle of the day. What an absolute fantastic guest, Grant. Yeah, he is. He is a solid host without a doubt. Doc was also quite good being in front of the opposing net before he got injured. Something that we haven't seen Texie do and was lacking versus hard D squads. Yeah, good points, Francois. You know, that, yeah, I think they will try Doc back on line one with Suzuki and Caulfield, but it will be a short leash. Yeah, well, it may not be right away either. They typically, what they'll probably do is put him on the third line with, move Galley out, put him on the third line with Bolduc and Deneau at the start, and ease him back into the lineup. And then, as Ken said, Bolduc played decent with Doc, so there you go. Bolduc's problem is that he's playing with Galley. Yeah, well. Habs haven't encouraged Bolduc to practice his face-off to become a center. No, he's not. He's not going to be playing. Kapanen's emergence, the picking up Deneau, having Evans, Veleno playing okay at center, Evans being a decent center. I mean, Beck. They're not. He doesn't have the vision, puck distribution qualities, puck handling abilities to play center in the NHL, especially when he's not. You don't convert wingers to centers at 22 years of age when they've been playing on the wing. It's just, he hasn't played there for 2 years. It's not gonna happen now, right? Face-offs. There's just too many reasons why, including the Canadians being set down the middle. I didn't even mention Doc. So, no, he's not going to play center. Who wins a skating race between Blais and Galley? Galley, surprisingly, has his bursts this year haven't been too bad. He's and I like the fact that Anderson may play tonight. Has anyone got confirmation on that? Monty and Nets tonight. Yeah, you'd be surprised, Rod. Short burst or whatever probably goes to Galley. Texe is the answer. There's somebody. Well, Gilbert or Gilbert. First line is becoming second line. Yeah. Anderson, Evans, and Doc come back in the next week. The bottom six becomes very deep. It could be Beck and Blais going down and Valeno sitting. Yeah. It's nice to have 1A, 1B lines. That I agree with. Even though it should be Galley. Yeah, I know. There's a tough conversation coming up here, I'd be afraid, at some point with Marty and Galley. Everybody's healthy. If everyone gets healthy. Does Colorado or Dallas have room for him on the fourth line? For who? Galley? Maybe not salary-wise. And you don't have to say legit asking. If you're asking, you're asking. I kind of hope MSL at least considers playing Galley game 1 out of 2 when there's a back-to-back. Yeah, pill will be easier to swallow for him. Well, that's why one of the reasons why I've been mentioning it, Francois. Then at least you say, look, Galley, we got back-to-backs here. You're the elder statesman. Do you mind sitting out one game? We just think you'll be fresher for the bigger, and save them for the bigger match, right? Say, well, we really want you fresh for the big game we've got against, say, Colorado or whatever the case may be, and then hey, what can you say, right? Playing beat back-to-back is really tiring and he needs rest. Yeah, well, I've been saying that for a while. No contender wants that salary. Well, you don't just hand him, it would have to be a creative deal, Regarding Galley, total respect for the man. However, all players know and say when it comes to contracts that hockey is a business. Yeah, well, it's easier said than done with somebody who's bled red, white, and blue for the past 15 years. But it's like I say, it's a business, and at some point you got to make a decision with your head and not with your heart. Buyout. Yeah, I don't. For the next closest guy, tenure wise, is like 5 or 6 years. I think it's Suzuki, and that's not the way the Habs do things. They just don't. With the guy that no one else is close to the tenure of him, to turn around for everything that he's done for this club and just say, oh, well, that doesn't matter. We're selfish pricks and we're just going to buy you out. Do not see it. Do not see it happening. And Ronnie says, do not think the Habs will attempt to buy out Galley's contract. Yeah. Yeah. Buyout is risky. Players love Montreal. Disrespecting a love veteran. Yeah, it's not the route to go, folks. Yeah, no, guys. No. Can't agree. Have them help the coaches. Yeah. The man's body is not as a 33-year-old. He's been a Warrior all his life. His body is older than his age. I can name you a bunch of 5'9" guys that, like Pat Verbeek, on, who still, their bodies, they worked just as hard, grinded just as hard, and their bodies were still okay at that age. I don't know. Hey, did he look like that last year? As soon as last year, he was still a 20-goal scorer. You don't just lose it. I don't know. There's something else going on there, but anyway, I don't want to talk about Galley anymore. I think we've exhausted that subject. Yeah, Pierre McGuire said this. Yeah, well, that's fine. He's a legend. Vancouver Giants. Maybe he can be closer to his dad. Oh, okay. Back. Yeah, if they're signed before September 15th, they can be signed 8 years. There you go. Hughes will wait till the heat dies down for Cappy. Well, I don't know. Like, I don't think they can demand a huge amount for Cappy right now at the end of this season. But if he comes back and he has like a 35-goal season next year, then it's up here. Like, they'll have to pay a pile more. It'll be smart to talk contract extension because they can't ask for the moon yet. And if Cappy only builds on what he did this season, and it's still, there's still the perception that he's not really going to be a 2C. All that public perception, one more year of this and him proving himself, proving everybody wrong, and even building on last year, Cappy could ask for a lot after his contract's up in one more year. So it'll be smart. It'll be smart to talk contract extension with Cappy after this year because in the long run it could end up saving the Canadians quite a bit of money. Logan Cooley at $10 million. Demidov will easily get that unless he does a team discount. Well, let's face it, folks, and I didn't have a chance to bring this up with Eric, but Lane took a discount. He just wanted this. He didn't want the headaches anymore. It went into the regular season. He's, his agent wanted more. I'm positive of that. But he just said, let's get this done. The guy, he's not going to spend the money. You can't spend the money when you're on the friggin' rink the whole day anyway, right? So it's not about money for him. He'll, and we'll see with Demi too. He certainly doesn't come across as a selfish guy. Maybe he does too. Like say, well, okay, for the good of the team, I'll sign for 9. But I based on I think he's going to be as good or better than Kaprizov. And look what Kaprizov just got. Yeah, he's more proven, but Russian wingers. Kaprizov hasn't won anything, come close to anything, winning anything with Minnesota, and he gets that friggin' deal. Do you sign Cappy for half of that? It might be tough. We'll see. I don't know Dan Milstein that well, but there's a relationship that has been forged with the club and with him, and hopefully they bargain in good faith and they can get somewhere between 9 somewhere between 9 and 11 million on a long-term contract with the club this offseason. They will pay him whatever he wants pretty much. Well, they haven't done that for anybody yet, so. And yeah, as far as trading Galley to Vancouver, just because he's from there originally, I mean, trade him to the worst team in the league. What if Boston had done that with Ray Bourque? Well, instead of trading him to Colorado for a chance to win his first cup. No, we're going to send you to the worst team in the league instead because it's close to where you grew up. Yeah. Yeah, they are a close-knit group. I can tell you that from secondhand knowledge. Cooley was and is in a different position. Yeah, maybe he's their best player. Keller would be in that conversation too. And yes, the fact that he's a center helps him to a certain degree too. However, at the same age in the NHL, Cooley had 44 points. And in his second year, he had 65, and then they signed him to this contract. Well, Demidov in his first year is going to better what Cooley had in his second year, right? So I don't know. I mean, 109 points in his first 2 years in the league, and Demi's probably going to have, 69, 79. So, yeah, because he's a center, blah, blah, blah. But being the best player on a team that's not as good as the Habs and doesn't have a bunch of great players, I think is, like saying you're the best player on a team that doesn't have any other star players is not that relevant. I think Cooley gets 10 mil. You got to look at Demidov getting that. No surprise Hudson will be a Hall of Famer. Well, it's early to be saying that, but yeah, he's trending that way. I think Demidov will be a Hall of Famer too someday. What is the revenue sharing model between you and Eric? Demidov might be the most talented player, but definitely isn't the unquestioned best player on the Habs right now. Again, that's irrelevant. Does Cale Makar not get a big contract because you could argue that Nathan McKinnon's a better player on the team? No. I'd argue Cooley might become a good first-line center while Demi is heading to all-star winger. Probably quite close offensively, and I'd argue Demi might already be better defensively. I think Schaefer's the leader for the Calder, but Demidov is closer. Closer than anyone else, you mean? Has Slav become a top 3 power forward in the league? He's in the discussion. I think he will be. I don't think Wallstead is as good as Fowler. Maybe a little bias on my part. Well, as far as Calder Trophy voting, he is better than he's a better odds. Wolf didn't win the Calder last year, was their number one and played a lot more Yeah, but Wolf wasn't top 3 in save percentage and top 4 in win percentage either. You got to factor that in. Yeah. But again, no one's saying that Waldsted's going to win, I don't think. Certainly Eric and I weren't. If it was they're up against Matthew Bunting as the top or whatever, then yeah. But there's a special defenseman and a special forward that are doing things that haven't been done for the past 8 years. Well, you're not going to backup goalie as good as his stats are, won't win. Oh, Rick, don't forget, everyone, it's a scientific proven fact that the best Habs supporters like and subscribe to HabsCast. Thank you, Rick. I hope your camera. We should have another test with your camera there, my friend, and make sure that it's working right, because I want you back on post games. I thought Gooley was beaten badly on a play Arber's blamed for. No, it was the other way around. Good reminder, Rick. Well, if you can like and subscribe, it's always and anyone, we have quite a few people watching on X. Hop on over, HabsCast, Recruits HabsCast, HabsCast on YouTube. Join in the fun. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe, hit the hype if you're on your phone. Appreciate it all. Well, if Schaefer was in Montreal, he wouldn't be used like he is now, though. Islanders are basically almost tied with the Habs in points. You're speculating there, Ken. That's a silly kind of way of looking at it, really. Schaefer would be playing big minutes for any team. He is, trust me on this, the kid is special. Just like Hudson last year. Did you think Hudson was going to play 23 minutes a game? Schaefer would play huge minutes with any team in the NHL. Any team. Yeah, well, Demidov has been the best rookie since November 1st, not close. No. Jordan Stahl, that was a long way back. Yes, it is. And George, did anyone direct you? I don't think it's hard to send money. You go to the, there should be a button right there to press, and it's just seconds to donate, I do believe, or people wouldn't be doing it. Just click on the dollar bill beside the chat button. There you go. So, folks, if you feel so inclined, hit that dollar bill, that dollar sign beside the chat button. And like so many others have done here, contribute to the keeping this going here. As you can see, you're not overwhelmed with ads, sponsors, right? I've got one sponsor at this point. So certainly your support is the key ingredient to this, to me being able to do this. What's coming up 2 hours now, and I'll do at least a 2-hour show tonight. So 4 hours on game day, 4 to 5 hours. It's only possible with your help. Last comment, Dovish is 14-5-3. Monty Fowler are combined 12-9-3. Kid is a big part of the team's success. Yeah, I don't know that people are throwing him under the bus. Just he needs to play. And right now, the club apparently likes. Well, they want Montembeault to be the starter, whether you agree with it or not. And Fowler looks like the future. So, through no fault of Dobie, he's kind of looked at as the third guy at the moment, and he's winning games, but I wouldn't say he was, the main reason they won last night was because the team scored 6 goals. It wasn't because Dobie stood on his head, it's fair to say, but hey, winning is very important for goalie, and Dobie's winning, and that's why you can make the argument both ways. Dobish can go to the minors. I still think there's work to be done on his game, and I really like the goalie coach in Laval. So if he does get sent to the minors, even though he doesn't deserve it based on his win percentage, I don't have a huge issue with that, because I think in the long run it'll help him. And this isn't just about this season; it's about the future as well. This podcast is sitting on a gold mine. Stalwart fan base, new success coming with new fans. Let's build this. Honest Habs talk, no pretentious shit. Right on, Don. I really appreciate that that text or message, I guess you call it. Body Orr was a very special player. Yes, he was, Ron. Anderson is a game time decision. Yeah. Actually, there was a player played for Vancouver, Boddy, Boddy. Okay, I can picture his playing card. Looks like Andy playing. Oh, here we've got a teetotaler weighing in. Eric and Grant minus the beer. Amazing. Okay. Keep that temperance movement going there, young fella. By the way, I drink 2-3 beer during a podcast. Not drinking beforehand. If that bothers some of you, well, c'est la vie. There's always going to be different outlooks on things, right? I'm not going to stop because one person says, "Oh, minus the beer." Marty could play 30-minute Galley 30 minutes wait, go out with a bang. Situation solved. Oh, there you go. Yeah, I think he is nursing something too, Ron, as he seems to be every year. The cap contract was something that anyone thought was going to be an issue when the season started. Yeah. Well, I don't think it's an issue. It's just they could sign him in the offseason instead of waiting for his contract to come up. They've done it with a lot of other promising young players. I mean, he could legitimately be a top 5 Calder Trophy candidate. So you try to lock those promising young players up long term to fair deals before their price really goes up. Because if he only builds on what he did this year and next year scores 35 goals, he's asking for $8 million plus, probably legitimately. Yeah. I know, Ron? That was something else there that they had to order Lane to stay off the ice. Excuse me one. I hope Demi doesn't have the same agent as Kaprizov. Yeah. I can't say I know that for sure, but Yeah. Cheers for doing this, Grant. Hopefully we'll check in tonight. Hope for no runaway tonight, unless it's lead by the Habs. There you go. Love having a remote beer with you after the game. Thanks, Ron. I think the majority people don't have an issue with it, but there's always going to be people that think otherwise in all walks of life, and that's fine. But I don't know that you necessarily need to mention that in a post, but I think that was that first person's post, and I will go with the majority and the people that post on here all the time and their viewpoints over somebody weighing in for the first time and deciding to take a dig, right? But again, all different walks of life out there in the world. Okay, folks, haven't had anything to eat yet today. I've been just crazy going at it. I got to do some things. Got to get prepared for tonight's podcast. I want to promote this one because, as usual, it was a great show with Eric, and I need to spend some time getting a couple clips together and promoting this, and hopefully get more people viewing, because the numbers, considering how great Eric is, they're just not near what they should be, because I think Eric does a great job of hosting these with me. So I am going to sign off here. And thank you, Ron. Thank you, Francois. Frankly, Mahavlich. Frankly, I appreciate that. That's a nice comment. I appreciate it. And have a good day as well, Francois. We'll see you tonight. One last thing before I go. Why am I showing that? Because I'm Cappy. All right. Have a grand afternoon, everybody. Hope to see you tonight after the game. And I'll have a beer. Not minus the beer. Bye for now.